Today's Evening First Alert weather show is brought to you by Bresky Siding.
And good Wednesday evening, Mid-Michigan. Almost forgot what day it is. Doing a lot of setup here behind the scenes, and just wanted to talk a little bit differently tonight about what we have been seeing around the area. And that is what appears to be a pretty good ice season, but I'm still learning a little bit about the ice over the years, and so I thought there would be no better guest to talk to us than Marty Saliga, who is known as the Airborne Angler. And I've got him on our line right now, so I am going to pull him up, and we'll test the sound really quick. Marty, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, good evening, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So just looking at percentages, because I did not grow up ice fishing, I've only looked at it from a weather perspective. How would you rate this year so far with the ice from what we've had really the last couple of years, and some years have been a pretty big struggle?
Yeah, so I think the gold standard is the 2014, 2015 polar vortex year. And I wouldn't say it's as good as that year, but we're definitely on par to have a great season out there.
Would you say this one maybe is closer to about 2019, perhaps?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, that was also a good year. But this is, I think, just second to the polar vortex year. Like this really good ice, set up quick. It's staying put. We've got great temps, so I'd say it's the second best season since I can remember from that year.
Now, the one question I did have for you, and it's something we've talked about in the weather office a little bit, is we've been, of course, talking about, hey, these temperatures going into next week, they're going to stay cold through the weekend and even early next week. But what we have noticed even this week is you get those big percentages. I think we peaked at about 54.5 just the other day. But then I've also gotten the question, well, we haven't gotten any warmer. How does that coverage go down? Is that more due to maybe the wind shifting some things around, maybe a little bit of sun, or could it be a variety of different reasons?
Yeah, I think those percentage charts, if I fly out over Lake Huron, a lot of the satellites measure that ice coverage, and you'll just see these floating jigsaw puzzle sheets. So they're kind of still floating around. The inner Saginaw Bay from like the Charity Islands south, that's just solid, solid good ice. That's gonna take a lot to get rid of.
Now, you've been doing this for a while, and I've been at the station since 2015. You've been doing this as far as I can remember. How long exactly have you been doing this?
Yeah, so I think I broke my leg the year of the polar vortex. I never ice fished before that. So I'm laid up on the couch and everybody's sending me pictures of their pickup trucks ice fishing. I don't even own an ice fishing rod at that point. So I'm all in. Next year I buy a shanty, a snowmobile. The 2 years after that, we don't have any ice. So I've got all this equipment I've never used just sitting doing nothing. So that when we had those 2 bad years, my friends didn't know if they should go out there, and I was like, "Well, I can just fly over there." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Yeah, I fly on the side." They're like, "No, you don't." So that's kind of how it started. I just posted it for my friends on my personal Facebook, and it just blew up. So I started getting thousands of friend requests. So I just decided to make this other Facebook page and call it the Airborne Angler, the silly name, but it kind of took off from there.
And you probably wanted to keep at least a little bit of personal life versus angler life there too.
Well, I'm
So,
sure the fishermen didn't want to see my kids making cookies, and so
yeah.
it kind of works both ways.
Yeah, and probably I would imagine, I like flying too. And I just like, when you're out, you say you're flying in the Rocky Mountains or something, you like watching what's down below. I have to imagine, based on some of the pictures, and I've got one up here that looks like Lake Erie. I got to imagine you see some pretty cool sights up there, and I would imagine it's probably coolest when you can actually see the water instead of the snow on top.
Yeah, no, it's like that Erie. I've never seen, the patterns you can see from 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 feet, and like those spots there, they almost exactly mimic the warm water discharge from those nuclear and coal power plants, and also the contours of the lake, almost like where water gets pushed in and pushes up, but the bottom changes. So Yeah, very interesting. I'm learning. I'm no expert on that science, but yeah, it's very neat to see.
And you also, you do what is considered, I would think, a pretty good service here. Not only just for, the cosmetics of seeing what's down below, but your ultimate goal is probably just to make sure everyone's safe, right?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. If I could, and we'll never know. We'll never know if it's worth doing, but if it just makes one person stop and think or bring a buddy, then it's worth it. I've been thinking about starting to keep some statistics going years back, but I kind of don't want to jinx it, so I kind of just stay mom until the season's over, and then if we don't have any fatalities, then it's been worth it.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the looks because we talked about it before, the Great Lakes ice coverage map. It does tell a story, but it also doesn't tell some of those really localized stories as well. And I know the phrase is always no ice is safe ice, and I'm sure that even in conditions like these where we have been cold, you'll still run into some problems here and there.
No, you're spot on. And what I always like to say is the inner bay, just the inner bay is 1,100 square miles. So if you think of the access points, whether it's in a thumb all the way around to the gray area, somebody can go out there and they're on a nice sheet of ice, but that's not a uniform sheet of ice, right? So they can post, guys, I'm sitting on 8 inches with my snowmobile, and somebody else going from somewhere else is just gonna, fall right in because it's just not a uniform sheet. It's like a puzzle of different ice sheets, and yeah, it's nice when we have ice like we do this year because it's pretty much good ice, and then you have the little local cracks that are always working just because there's water underneath and this ice is floating on it.
So, what would you say is, just for somebody like me who is interested in this, but has never gone out ice fishing before, what makes, what do you learn over the years of what makes a good spot versus not? If it seems like uniform, this might seem like a silly question from somebody like me, but is there any factor that still happens like underneath the ice, or is it really kind of a, for a lack of a better term, a luck of the draw thing, hoping you're in an area with fish, or is there still wind currents that are moving under the ice that you kind of look for?
There's definitely currents. It's not a pond. It's still connected to Lake Huron. The Lake Huron's connected to all the other lakes, so water, and the river, and so everything's always flowing. As far as where the fish are, uh, you find somebody that can that always knows
Yeah.
where those are, then I will gladly listen to that show. But I wish I could help you there. I just can't, and my friends know I can't. So, but no, the ice. I mean, there's a little. You can use a little bit of science. There's studies done on how fast ice grows with temps over time. There's if there's snow on it, it's like an insulating blanket. The ice builds from underneath. From the water side, not the air side, right? So there's a temperature and time is your best friend. It definitely deteriorates much faster than we get it. So the most dangerous part of the season is coming this spring because everybody's going to be real comfortable out there, and they're going to be going to the same spots they have been safely, and it's not going to be safe one of those trips. So that's the part of the season that really worries me because people get complacent.
Now, do you get a sense that, you've talked on a personal level that this is one of the better years that you can remember? Do you feel like that's a widespread sentiment this year?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can see it in the parking lots at the outdoor stores, and just the amount of pictures and reports on social media. And last year we had this northwest corner of the bay that just wouldn't heal, and we had a bunch of rescues in that side. And this year we don't have that, so that's huge because that Pinconning Standish area is very popular for fishing. That water gets deep fast, closer to shore, whereas the east side of the bay is kind of shallower. So, yeah, I mean, I think for total coverage, it's a great year, but you still have localized things. That, the crack people talk about is just a sheet of ice that'll slide 5 feet over to one side. It'll create a shove, but it means it's a 5 foot hole, wide hole on the other side. So you still have to be careful each time you go.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that, and everybody, of course, is filling up my inbox with, I've had enough at this point. I'm ready to move on to spring, and I am in a certain way too. I just, once we get kind of to February, I'm just ready. I don't hate winter by any stretch, but it's just kind of I've had my limit up to that point. But I've also tried to say, because I know we've got some 30s coming next week, is I've tried to say, well, hey, let's not go right from the teens to the 40s. I know there's people who have been waiting years to get back out on the ice like we have, because I even remember, gosh, I don't think it was 20, it wasn't 25, because it was decent last year, if I remember right, but it was 24 that I don't know if we had a week of good
No,
ice. I
no,
mean,
I think I flew nonstop. I just, I like when it sets up and I can get a break
yeah.
and get some maintenance done on the plane and get ready for when it goes. But no, I know what you're talking about. Those 2 years ago was horrible.
Yeah, it seemed like we just could never get a break. It was like I don't even remember what the percentage is, but I know in February, I believe it was, we were at a just absolute historical low that we had never seen. And now, granted, ice history is fairly low. I think it's about 55 years up to this point. I think 1970 is the cutoff. So, in the grand scheme of things, it's a really small sample size. But even for 55 years, and everybody, to me, when I talk about snow, one of the first things they'll tell me is this was nothing like the 70s. Well, 55 years ago, you're talking about the 70s when winter was really, rolling strong. It sounds like I wasn't even a thought by then. But you're talking about those seasons, and if you're getting a historical low, even compared to some of those years, man, you have to know that last year, or 2024, was probably a pretty brutal year.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. It's so cyclical, and just when we think we used to say, okay, it was horrible last year, we're due, and it's like nope, and it's like we're due, nope, and then this, and then we get some ice like 2024. We had so many rescues. We get some ice, the wind would blow it off. Guys were so desperate, they're getting rescued off the flows. So yeah, that was no good.
So I'm just going to check the comments here to see if I'll offer it up for anyone who might have a question. I do have to ask, maybe Bob Jonko knows who you are. He said you can't golf. So
That
don't
is true.
so don't listen to a word you say, he says.
I don't know who invented that game. It's a horrible game.
Well, we'll see if we get any other questions here in the next couple of minutes. Let's talk about next week, because I'll pull up our weather software here. I'll just give us a chance to look at the ice coverage map while I pull something else up, because I do want to talk next week about some of the conditions that we do expect. I'll pull up the 7-day here just so everybody can get a sense of where we're going into the warmer temperatures. We've got temps in the teens coming into this weekend. Looks like we'll have a really cold night. Friday night into Saturday, probably to the point where I think we'll have some cold weather advisories again, and then teens and 20s on Saturday and Sunday. So I got to imagine, things will hold pretty well through the weekend and probably hold pretty well through Monday. Now, just to give anyone any perspective, is there kind of I know there's no perfect answer, but what kind of gut feeling is there with how quickly things can change? Do you have to have multiple days of like mid 30s, or does it change pretty quickly even with low 30s and some sunshine?
No, because when we're looking at these highs, we're talking probably 3 p.m. for 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And if the sun's not pounding it, because we have so much overcast this time of year, and you look at those lows, it's going to be colder longer than it is. So those are beautiful days for fishing. You can be out there with your jacket off. You're not just full blast on the propane heater. So that's with those overnight lows, I have zero worries. That's just perfect weather there.
So what would be your level of concern when we start getting maybe repeated upper 30s, 40s, kind of in that area?
Yeah, especially like runoff from all the fields, all the roads. Once that stuff's melting, hitting the ditches, and then that weakens the shore ice, so there's nothing really to hold it. And then you get a day of significant wind, and that's when large chunks break off. And after that, it's just exponentially faster. It goes away.
Well, good. So I'm glad to hear that even into next week, for those who are hoping to be out there, That seems like it's good news that we're not quite to that point just yet. And obviously, we have built up what seems like a little bit of credit here with Mother Nature to hopefully get some of those conditions to last a little bit longer. So I guess the message is for anybody who maybe hasn't gotten out just yet, you've still got plenty of time, maybe even with a warm up next week.
I plan on going out there. I'm not saying it's safe. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do my due diligence. There's gonna be trails. I go with friends, but I'm definitely gonna get out there and enjoy it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let me just check the comments one more time. Doesn't look like we have any questions. I do appreciate you joining me, Marty. Is there any other, just before I let you go, and hopefully we can do this again and really see kind of where things go over the next couple of weeks, but what is kind of like your favorite thing that you've seen or have gone through over the years? Is there a specific event that you just say that was a really good day of fishing, or this is why I do what I do? Is there any experience like that that just kind of sticks in your mind?
Yeah, we like to plan overnight outings there. We'll set up a base camp with just a circle of shanies, a fire, grilling, and when the ice is when you can go out there and relax and not worry about falling through. That's when I go. I'm not the first guy out there. I'm not the last guy out there. I want to be able to relax, take my son out, and just not have to worry about falling through. So I'm excited. I think the best is yet to come in February.
That's great to hear. Almost like it sounds like ice camping, if you will.
It is with fishing.
That's awesome. Well, Marty, thanks for joining me. It was nice to talk about something different. Last week I was struggling saying how many more times can I talk about wind chills that are below zero? And I always learn a little bit from your posts and feel like I've gotten smarter over the years, but still some work left to do. So always appreciate my friends. Hopefully we can talk again. And obviously if there's anything we can do for you here at the Weather Center, we'll be happy to do that.
Hey, if you can keep those high pressure systems coming so I can keep flying, I'll appreciate that. And you've got an open invitation for the plane or the ice shanty if you want a first-hand look. So just get a hold of me.
One of these days I will. All right, thanks, Marty. Have a good night, and we'll end the stream there. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see ya.
All right, see ya.